what we're about to do in terms of the on-camera practice, that's a whole other workshop on itself that I do, just a 3-hour workshop with on-camera work, right? So, but I'll tell you, what it boils down to is answering questions with a story instead of an explanation. And you have to be in a zone where you're comfortable with being open about your story and your life, right? If you have a very compelling story, don't be afraid to use that to talk about what it is that you do. Thanks for joining us this morning. I'm joined by Matt Slayman from Pirate Life. Matt, thanks for joining us. What is Pirate Life all about?
No problem, Camille. It's a pleasure to be here. Pirate Life is a new theater and cruise on Center Island this summer. We spent the last year building this 45-foot pirate ship, and now it's ready to sail. So we're looking for crew to come search for treasure.
Oh, so who's the audience in your Pirate Life ship?
For families. This is a show for families because we invite the children and the parents to come out, usually kids under the age of 10. They get costumes and face paint, and then they search for treasure aboard the ship, fire the water cannons, and live the pirate's life.
So this isn't just a theater show where I come sit down and watch a show. What's it like?
Absolutely not. This is a show where you are a part of it. You become cast and crew with us in the search for treasure. Your children get a chance to experience what it's like to be on stage, to act, and to be a part of something that's big and amazing.
So where does the cruise go to?
We start on Center Island, right in the middle of the lagoons there, and we drive the boat out just to the harbor front where we can see the great view of the city and right back in.
So what's your role in Pirate Life, Matt?
I'm the captain, miss. I sail the ship and lead the scurvy crew, you see.
What gave you the idea to start something like this?
This is one of those stories that has a bit of adversity in it because it all began while I was in university. I ended up finding this amazing summer job for a pirate ship in Ottawa. I worked with them for 4 to 5 years, led the show as a manager, eventually climbing the ranks, and decided it was time to start my own in Toronto.
How difficult was it to start up something like this?
It's been a long process. There's been blood, sweat, and tears shed, as any entrepreneurial story is, but as you go through step by step, you just keep looking forward and keep driving forward.
So what can people expect from the next Pirate Life ship sailing?
A scurvy good time. Really, it's entertaining. It's fun. It's something that's outdoors. It gets you to disconnect and reconnect with other people and actors and just be a part of the show.
Now, speaking of the actors, how is this kind of changing the way actors get work in the industry?
Acting, everyone knows the story of a struggling artist, right? Being an actor, an up-and-coming aspiring actor is really, really tough because oftentimes they'll do rehearsals over a month from 9 to 5 that are completely unpaid, only to do 1 week of shows, 2 hours each night, and making $40 a show. We are paying our actors every rehearsal, every show, and we're building a profit-sharing model into the business so that once the show actually makes money, we're paying our actors who are doing the show.
Awesome. Thanks so much for joining us, Matt. We'll have a link to Pirate Life on our website. So he was fantastic. He used all his buzzwords. He stayed in character. He made his business sound interesting, made me want to go to it. And just a note for you, your story your business is very marketable, especially to the local stations like CP24. His type of interview would not probably be in this setting. They would come out to the pirate ship and they would want you. So what you have to practice actually is walking and talking, and I mean you've been an actor, so you're probably fine with that. But engaging in the camera and showing them everything, I can see them doing a live shot from the actual pirate ship. Thanks for joining us this morning. I'm joined by Gloria Pierre today from Clearly Speaking. Gloria is a communications coach and helps people get over their fear of public speaking. Thanks for joining us, Gloria.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
Gloria, what do you think really holds people back from being able to speak in front of other people?
Well, it's nervousness, but more importantly, I think it's because they don't know how to do it. And that's what I do in Clearly Speaking. I teach them how to give them the techniques on how to speak, and this way they become more confident, overcome their shyness, and want to do things, because we all want to do things, but we are always held back, and mostly by our own fears.
What's the main key to getting over a fear of public speaking?
Doing it. Just jumping in and doing it. And again, it's most of the times we sabotage ourselves because communication is not only external, it's internal, what we say to ourselves. So once you start realizing that communication is internal and we actually talk ourselves out of doing things, we can remove that barrier and start focusing on the techniques on how to overcome those.
And Gloria, were you always a confident public speaker?
No, not at all. I was very shy, and I started the business because in the workplace I was put in a situation that I couldn't handle. And I begged to keep my job. I think I reacted in a very female way. I cried and I begged to keep my job. And then after I asked a lot of people how they would have handled the situations, and interestingly enough, a lot of the women said they would handle the situation just like me. And that got me started. Okay, this is not good enough. We've got to do something better. So along the way, I became a little bit more confident.
So you've got a big event happening on Saturday.
Yes.
And tell me about your main speaker.
Okay, this is a client of mine. She's 19 years old. She has been diagnosed with a learning disability for a long time now, and she's been in a private school for about 4 years. So she came to me to help her to regain her confidence. And what I've been doing with her is communication coaching and putting her in different situations, getting her out of her comfort zone. And yesterday she came and we were talking about the event, and she says, I want to speak. And I said, you do? She says, yes. I said, what do you want to talk about? She says, I want to talk about how much you've helped me. And I said, well, it's not just me who's going to be there. There's going to be at least 30 people. She says, I want to do it. I said, okay, send me your script, and we're going to go over it, and you're going to practice it, and then do it. So when she told me, and she left, I was just jumping up. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. But I asked her if she's going to be nervous. She says no. And I thought, this is a great testimony. And it's not only what I am doing, because for those of you who are coaches or teachers, you know that half of the learning is what you give, and the other half is how it's received, or if it's received. And she's been very receptive.
Well, thanks for joining us, Gloria. We look forward to seeing her speech on the weekend.
Thank you.
So you see, when I asked her about was she always a good public speaker, and she said no, and she gave a situation, she described a situation at work, but she was very vague about it. So what you need to do is pin down that story in your mind and be like, I was at work, my boss said X and I said Y. Like, you need to tell me the exact details of that conversation. I know it seems very awkward to be that direct, but that's how direct you need to be in order to be effective on television. So you need to pin down that specific story as to what happened at work that was your turning point. How did that feel for you?
It felt intimidating.
Yeah.
But one of the things that always got me is, like you said, 2 to 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm very conscious of the time, and I'm just rushing it. And and from your comments, I noticed I was rushing it, but then at other times I was just elaborating when I was being more concise. So it's just being aware of those things.
Yeah. Okay. So it's about having the story ready answers in your mind, right? So if you have the story of what happened to you at work, you have the story, you know you're going to be talking about this 19-year-old, have her story, have your keywords, a way to describe her in 1 or 2 sentences that's impactful. Okay?
Big detail.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. Great. I'm joined by Fernando Valley from Print to Form. And Print to Form makes 3D, photorealistic sculptures to capture all of your family's memories. Thanks for joining us, Fernando.
Thanks for having me.
So, how does it really work? How do you get my face through the printer onto a sculpture?
Well, it's not necessarily easy, but the way we do it, it does make it easy. All you have to do is stand still for 2 minutes. We take our equipment, do what's called a scan of you. Just like you would scan a picture, well, we create a scan of you. Then we do a little bit of our wizardry in the background and create a file that then we then take to our 3D printer and create an actual physical memento or physical sculpture that you can have on your mantelpiece or even send to your grandparents.
So is it made out of plastic?
Yes, it is a full color plastic photorealistic sculptures.
So you promise I can look like Beyonce or something?
Of course, if you'd like, you already do look like her, so
So what kind of products do you make for people? What's your most popular product?
So right now, the two most popular products that we make are for wedding cake toppers, to remember how you looked in that wedding dress on that special day. Of course, it would be on your wedding cake, but then you keep it for the rest of your life. The second is, if you have a newborn, if you want to remember what he or she looked like when they're 1 month old. For example, my niece and nephew, I did a scan of them, so I will always remember what they look like at 1 month old.
Awesome. How is 3D printing technology changing the whole photo industry?
Well, it's helping to create not just, a picture, which we say is worth 1,000 words. Imagine how happy an actual physical representation of yourself, how much is that worth to you in comparison?
So do you see the photo industry going in this direction? Do you think in 20 or 30 years, like digital photos will be like printed photos where no one really even does them anymore?
Well, definitely. I mean, you see this trending over and over again, but I think it's having this technology will allow you to create that impression, that emotional impression that you get in a much more livelier sense.
All right, awesome. Thanks for joining us. We'll have a link to Print to Form, and watch out for me as Beyonce coming soon. I liked how I was going to try to get a personal story out of him, and he already gave it to me when he talked about his niece and nephew. That was very good how he just worked that in, because he's selling his product without sounding like a salesman, right? Like when I asked him, so what do people ask for? And he's like, oh, at the wedding. And then he brought all these emotions into it that will talk to somebody watching. If I was watching at home, I'm like writing it down, like that website, because I want to go and see if I can afford that, right? So you did a really good job at not sounding salesy, but still selling the product and just being conversational. Thanks for joining us this morning. Today we have on the show Alicia and Paulina from Brent Gun Girls. You know all those tasks that you usually let your husband do, like fixing the toilet or putting up drywall? No one wants to do that, but you can. This organization shows women that they can DIY everything around the house. Hi guys.
Thanks.
So tell me about the inspiration behind this organization. Why did you start this?
So Paulina and I started this company. We both moved into new condos recently downtown, and we were friends, and we were thinking like, okay, we both want to renovate our places. We want to put up wallpaper. We need like something fixed. We're like, both of us were thinking, okay, none of our female friends can help us. None of them know how to put up wallpaper or to hang a shelf. So our first instinct was to be like, oh, let me ask my boyfriend. Let's think of like our male friends that can help us. And then we got to thinking like, women aren't taught skills like that. There's such basic things, like how to like, I don't know, like fix like a loose doorknob or something like that. So we thought that we would kind of fight against the whole issue of gender norms. Kids aren't raised, females aren't raised like being taught skills like that. So we thought we would have workshops where like it's geared towards like single urban women, teaching them how to be handy and how to not need to ask for help from a man or to contract out the work to somebody else. Like,
so what kind of training did you guys undergo?
Well, training in terms of
like, how did you didn't know how to do these things
yeah,
beforehand?
so actually that's the thing. We started looking. We looked online, and we like for hours that night we were searching. We're like, let's find out how to put up wallpaper. We could not find a single workshop that catered to, I guess, young people. And what was even more shocking to us was that there's a whole do-it-yourself culture out there right now, and none of it was teaching women. It was teaching women how to learn code on computers, sew, build furniture, but nothing was teaching us the very basic skills
Take care of your house.
to take care of your house. So we couldn't find anything to teach us. So we thought, well, there are licensed professionals. They probably have spare time. So we're going to bring them in, and we're going to have groups of women in supportive, fun settings, no judgment, learn how to do these things, and then be able to not have to hire someone, not call their male friends.
Right. What's the biggest surprise that you came across in setting up this business? What's shocked you the most about what women don't know how to do?
it's just how basic the skills are. It's almost sad that like when my sink is broken, I don't know how to stop it from leaking. That is such a basic thing that you don't even have to think about when you live in a house with like a boyfriend or with your dad or brothers and stuff like that. Like it's just fixed. One of them will fix it and you don't even have to think about it. And it's just shocking and sad that women aren't taught these skills. Like when you're young, it's like, oh, watch mom learn how to make spaghetti, and then it kind of ends there. So it was more just shocking that it's not just us that don't know these skills, like based on our particular situations. It's like no girls that we know.
What's the
have these
response
skills.
been to your workshop? Are people really feeling like this is something they need?
So
Yes.
many people, we are actually surprised how many people are like, yes, I would do that. We're actually surprised how many men are like, yes, actually. We can learn to do that too, because actually it's not only a woman thing, it's a very urban problem. There are a lot of men and women who are just out of touch with those things because we're so used to just paying for help. And with this do-it-yourself culture, with this, we should know how to do this. Why do we have to hire someone to do this? Men and women are becoming interested in knowing how to do basic do-it-yourself.
So what's your
skills.
number one skill that people want to learn when they come to your workshop? What's the
Number
most
one
popular?
skill?
I'd say like power tools seem to be the thing people are most intimidated with, like how to use a drill, how to use other things that are electric, and I think that's something that people.
So the company's called Bren Gun Girls. What's the story behind that?
So Brendan Girls is actually the term. Have you ever heard of Rosie the Riveter?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So that's
do it.
exactly. That's the American version. There was a Canadian version that came before Rosie the Riveter. Her name was Ronnie the Brendan Girl, and she worked in World War II workshops in Toronto on Strawn Avenue, building guns for the World War II effort. So those girls were actually termed the Brendan Girls, and they were the precursor to a lot of women in the workplace. So that's why we came up with it. We took that name as a statement of
Like
female empowerment.
Women doing like roles like traditionally done by men. Men worked in factories. Men worked with their hands. Men used tools, and like there was a need for it because men went off to war. So yeah, it's kind of like following that whole process of getting women doing things that are not typically done by women.
But that we can all
So we all totally
Absolutely.
capable.
All right, you can do it.
Yes.
You can do it.
can.
All right, thanks for joining us, ladies. Look forward to seeing what else you have in store. Could broaden that pitch because I liked what you talked about it being an urban problem because that's much more relatable and it's a little less tricky with I feel like the sexist thing is a real tricky ground for you because when you make sure also when you're talking, say some women are not raised on that because there might be women watching and be like, I know how to fix a toilet. I feel like next channel, you're turning the channel, right? So make sure that you're not alienating any part of the audience. So I really would recommend not focusing on the female part of it and talk about the urban problem. That's my best advice.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.